It's Wednesday night. It's our product experience and training call. My name is Keith Hooper. I'm here in Central California. We're joined this evening by our good friend, Dr. Barry White, out of Ontario, Canada. Good evening, Dr. White.
Good evening, Keith.
And we're also joined this evening by our good friend, Doug LeClaire, out of Oakville, Ontario. Good evening, Doug.
Hey there, Keith. Glad to join you.
As always on these Wednesday night calls, we want to put the caveats in here to start with, that the products from Immunotech Research do not cure anything, but as Hippocrates said some 2,500 years ago, let food be thy medicine. Simply the most important food you can use is Immunocal Platinum, as well as our other great products that we have here. And as always, as we look around the world, Immunocal is becoming more important today than it was yesterday, and I think it'll be more important tomorrow than it is even today. But we want to kind of look at a couple things as we head into the end of this year and reflect on the past and project into the future. And you know, last week's call was a very, very interesting call, and we had a great interaction with a young lady, but it caused us a lot of thought about what are we really looking at. You know, I mean, Sandra and I came here some 26 years ago when we saw the medical research that said the animals that were given Immunocal lived 30 to 50% longer than the ones that weren't. Now, we had a background, we had some history, if you will, within the health and nutrition world, and also as how it related to animal husbandry and such, being in the ag world. But we were also aware of something known as the blue zones. And the blue zones are interesting. There are locations, they're all over the world. They're in, you know, from, down in Southern California to Santa Cruz to Sardinia to Okinawa to whatever. It's really doesn't have an awful lot to do with geography as much as it does with a combination of things that work together. And when that happens, the group of people live longer. And that's what these blue zones are referred to. This is where the people live, you know, 10 to 15 years longer than the average population in other parts. So if we think about that, and we think about Immunocal and how important it is, and we look at that research that was there, that the animals that were given Immunocal help you live longer. So we're talking about this concept of creating your own blue zone. And in the core of that would obviously be, in my not so humble opinion, the Immunocal Platinum and Sport, obviously, as well as our other products, and the business opportunity, because as we started this call off, it was about that family. Sue Young made a comment about, you know, the call tonight of the family call of what we have. And as you build the blue zone, so if you look at the blue zone, and you think about it, part of it is that communication of a larger group having a purpose, okay, to make a difference. Today I put out a short video on the fact that it talked about, you know, the normal exercise. And what's normal exercise? Normal exercise is, hey, walk a half hour 3 to 4 times a week. Okay, and exercise at 3 to 4 hours, and it's very interesting. But as we look at this blue zone concept, okay, whether it be Loma Linda down in Southern California, or it be Sardinia, or it be the places in South America, or Tibet, whatever, it's about this whole, you know, synergistic effect of all of these things working around that, and nutrition is obviously the core to that. Okay, and if we think about that and how Immunocal Platinum and Sport and our K21 and our Magistrol and all these things come into play with that, okay, the calcium and the boosters, as we come into this play of this, because if you think about you know, creating your own blue zone, and what I mean by that is your family, your friends, and connecting it. And today we can do this, you know, because part of that is this connection. And the connection is a Wednesday night call where we're all connected together, and we're talking about what this stuff is, you know, Immunocal is doing, what the concepts of this is doing. And part of that is because of the business, which gives people a purpose to help people. But, you know, Dr. White, as we look at nutrition out there, you were making a comment earlier that, you know, there's a lot of people that are pushing a lot of stuff that, you know, really doesn't pass the common sense test. Okay, they don't have the common sense to back that up. I mean, and that's what really does set us apart. Is not only do we have the science that backs this up, but it makes just good common sense to use our products.
Yeah, we're coming across they're probably like new companies. They don't have to be network companies. They might be sales companies, but they're like the one particular so obviously bad. They're saying that glutathione is not the master antioxidant. It's melatonin, which of course there's no melatonin has some value, but it sure isn't the equivalent of glutathione. The very thing that Immunocal is noted for in terms of being able to provide the precursors for glutathione, but glutathione, no doubt, across every literature, it's called the master antioxidant, and nothing else can come close to that. It regulates and works with all the other antioxidants that we need, but you have to have the glutathione, and you can't, of course, take glutathione in. You have to have the precursors that make it work. So this, we call it misinformation in nutrition, is sort of flooding the airwaves, and because it's on a YouTube or something like that, people believe the falsehood stuff. So just to make people well aware, it's glutathione is the master antioxidant. Nothing else is.
Right. That's been well established. But it's interesting as we look and we think about taking responsibility for our own health, is also taking the responsibility to spend a few minutes to validate the things that are being said. Whether I'm saying it, Dr. White is saying it, Dr. Claire is saying it, you're hearing it from somebody else within Immunotech. If you're hearing what they're saying, validate this, okay? And Dr. White, I was having a conversation with John Solider today, and we were talking about, Dr. Gerson that came up with the juicing part of the stuff back in the early part of the 20th century. And I was relating the fact that if we think about a couple things here today, folks, and we're gonna kind of weave this together. So give us a couple of minutes, if you will. Dr. White, we talk about to get the precursor, you have to have the precursor to be able to build the glutathione intercellularly, and that there's no shortcut around that, right?
No shortcut whatsoever. If your body doesn't get the food and the nutrition it needs, it can't do the job it's supposed to do, right?
Right. So let me ask you a question. So we talk about, you can take a packet of Immunocal and you get the precursors. You could eat a dozen raw eggs, or you could eat 5 gallons of raw broccoli, right? Yep.
And the 5 gallons sure works.
5 gallons sure works, but it's pretty tough to do.
That's raw. Just
that's raw.
That it's raw.
That's raw. So I want you guys to think about something here. So you've got a packet of Immunocal. You can mix it in your favorite juice, okay, and put that together. What I was sharing with John, that Sandra and I had an opportunity in the late 80s to might have been 90, 91. But we actually had the opportunity to spend quite some time, about 45 minutes or an hour, with Jay Kordish. You may know him as the Juice Man, okay? And Jay Kordish graduated from USC in whatever it was in the 40s or early 50s, whatever, or early. I'm assuming it was in the 40s, late 40s, and came down with cancer. He then went to New York, where he went through what was the Garson treatment, but it was done by another doctor. I think the doctor's name was Walker, that developed a juicer, okay, and it was a wine press type juicer, and it was there in New York City, and the reason it was there is because of the farmers market in New York City. You could get all the fresh vegetables and stuff to be able to do what they did. But Jay was sharing with Sandra and I that while he was working for the guy with the with a wine press type juicer. Okay, and he went to work for him, cured his cancer, did all the stuff with the juicing and so forth. But Jay had gone to, while he was working for them, went to Stanford University for a study. And they did a study at Stanford juicing, guess what? Broccoli. Okay, and they juiced the broccoli and they gave it to the patients 6 times a day, that they gave them broccoli, and they had an amazing impact and on healing the cancer at the patients at Stanford. Now, what was interesting with that, as Jay was sharing with Sandra and I, that he was there at the time it was done. He was with the juicing company that paid to have it done. He saw the finished results that were done. He saw the papers that were published, and he goes, but you cannot find those papers today. He goes, they're nowhere to be found. But Dr. White, what were they doing by giving the people all of that broccoli?
Isn't it strange that broccoli has the precursors for glutathione? Isn't it strange?
Isn't it strange? So let's see. You could now. I want to caution everybody. There's a cautionary tale here. Okay, if you cannot go down to your local produce market and buy broccoli and bring it home and get that same effect, okay, that they got back in the 50s at Stanford with what they were doing, okay, because of the way the broccoli is processed and handled today, okay, there's a high probability that broccoli has already been irradiated, which means it would break that bond before so it looks fresh to you, it looks raw to you, but it's not. Okay, and oh, by the way, they don't have to tell you it's irradiated. So you probably don't want to bet your life on that. You probably want to bet your life on taking a couple of packages of Immunocal, Dr. White.
Well, let's go to the cost question. Your 5 gallons of broccoli at, what is it now? Up here, it's getting about $2.50, $3 a pound. That would mean that the equivalency of one package of Immunocal, which costs about $3, it would have to be about $70 worth of broccoli, maybe $100 worth of broccoli to get $3 worth of value. Now, that wouldn't make to do that would be the age of stupid, right? You wouldn't do that just because Immunocal does it with so much less cost. Right, by the way, to say, probably the lowest cost mechanism for the precursors to glutathione is Immunocal. Some people look at a whole box and say it's expensive, but in actual fact, it's the lowest cost on the market for the precursors to glutathione.
So if we're looking at this and we're thinking about the blue zone, as you start to educate yourselves and become, more aware, or maybe you already are aware of the blue zone, where they talk about diet being such a primary function of it, you really come to the understanding of why Immunocal Platinum, and Sport are really foundational to the center of that nutritional program that you're going to build, because it's just, first of all, it's cost effective. Secondly of all, or also firstly as well, is it's nutritionally sound. And the third point, it may be the only raw food you eat in any given day. Okay, there may be no other place to get it. So if you're looking about building what we refer to creating your own blue zone around you and your family, okay, it's a fundamental part, and I think that's just so important to have.
Yeah, from a cost point of view, it's the we call it the very best choice. In terms of the effectiveness, it's the very best choice. In terms of availability, it's the very best choice. Well, what are we lacking in all this, right?
Nothing. Just take it. I mean, it's important. So if we look at this blue zone and we talk about one of the things you're going to go, as you were aware of, maybe if you've delved into the blue zone, if you've not, as you start to find out more about this blue zone, part of it is the community, and the purpose, and that's why I think Immunocal and Immunotech is a perfect segue into that, because it is about the community, and we have a very strong community here at Immunotech. at this. And I think, Doug, that's one of the aspects that we want to look at building into 2023 particularly, is that community aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. It's critical because it's, the foundation of health. I mean, you need great nutrition, but you also need the human interaction and community to support. And the energy that happens between people in a community is so life-giving and really encourages health. And of course, me being an engineer, when you mentioned the blue zones, did I go out and buy a book and then read it front to back? Sorry about that.
Yep, probably a pretty good idea.
Yeah, Dan Buettner's book is awesome.
Yep.
And of course, a number of people on my team and in my community, they said, Doug, why'd you go with that? We've got it in our library here. Oh, okay. Never mind. But yeah, it's really important to establish strong communities and like-minded individuals, and we can do checks and balances to keep each other on the right path with respect to health and nutrition. And the Immunical part is incredible. Yeah.
Well, can I mention something here? In terms of what we're just saying, in terms of community, there are a whole bunch of people who are, close friends and so on, but the greater number of them are all people who are Immunotech people. My community, because we have some common bonds, some common goals, I get a greater amount of my support from my Immunotech family. So you're not just getting good immune support, you're getting good family support.
Absolutely. Well, and before so that I don't get, it's going to be cold here tonight, and I like to sleep inside. So I want to come back. Sandra just reminded me to Dr. White to speak to the fact of the booster and how it relates to the broccoli.
Well, the sulforaphane is one of the main ingredients in the booster. This is the red and green booster. Sulforaphane, if you look it up on the government PubMed, Institute of Health, sulforaphane has a long list of very, what we call it, strong. You mentioned the juicing of broccoli earlier, but from the broccoli seeds and the early growth, like 6 days, you get sulforaphane, and sulforaphane has remarkable building blocks that complement glutathione, and as a result, when you have good glutathione plus the sulforaphane, you have a magical, well, not magical, it's scientifically proven, really strong benefit. So the booster is so worthwhile in terms of adding it to your Immunical.
Absolutely. So, once again, we're going to be going into 2023, and I think we really want to help the people that are. You guys all know this. That you boys and girls, as they say, you boys and girls are all aware. You're already doing everything it takes to develop these blue zones. Okay, you're all doing some kind of exercise. You're all doing some type of moderation when it comes to diet. You're all taking your Immunical. You're all involved the social part of Immunotech. You're all have a purpose to make people's lives better. So all of the segments of what it calls creating your own blue zone, we're all doing them. There's 9 areas, and we'll be going over those on the 7th of January on a Zoomtacular. But the idea is we're all doing them anyway, okay? But maybe we need to strengthen our efforts in certain areas, okay? We don't need to stop doing anything. We just need to strengthen that area to make that even better as we head into 2023, because last Wednesday night's call was very interesting. The call with Patricia today, I mean that was troublesome, where you have people that and this was two different instances that she went through, where in both instances, these people have 8-year-old boys who are autistic, but the mothers are saying that they don't know anything about Immunocal. And there really is nothing wrong with their children. It's just the fact that everybody else is too judgmental. Now, the fact that both these boys are 8 years old and don't talk, okay, neither one of them speak, that is not an issue. They're perfect the way they are. And Dr. White, I think that would go almost to the fact of the chess players way. You want to speak to that, to the article? I don't know how much up to speed you are on that, but that was an interesting article. Chess players that wear masks don't make good decisions.
Yeah, because they've really got an excess of carbon dioxide in their system, simply because the carbon dioxide you breathe out as a natural function of your breathing thing is concentrated, and you excess CO2 in your brain causes brain fog. So that's the bad decision question. So anyone with a mask on has a risk of not making as good decisions. So when you propose or receive a proposal and you got masks on, you might make a bad decision in that if you're wearing a mask.
Well, obviously we're seeing it, Doug, as we look around. There's a lot of people that are making less than great choices, shall we say, huh?
Yeah, it's unfortunate they just kind of censored all the real research. I used to work for General Motors in the process engineering plant, and I was educated on masks and being in a foundry, doing at they had the engine plant there just in St. Catharines, just around the corner from where I'm living, like probably about 40 minutes. But there was absolutely critical to keep our oxygen levels and keep our CO2 levels down. And looking at the real research on these things, it's an 18-time increased risk of upper respiratory illnesses if people are chronically wearing a mask 2-3 hours a day. So I can't even imagine what it'd be like to work a whole shift with one of those. Yeah, and I mean hundreds of studies, 200, 400. It's just unlimited, but they're buried deep, and you've got to learn how to find them and use your the Wayback Machine, archive.org, and look up previous dates where the information was available.
Well, I just thought that was interesting from Dr. White, the article that when they took the study they took chess players, and the ones that when they were wearing masks, they didn't play as well. They made poor decisions. So it was kind of interesting with that. But, once again, as we look at Immunocal, we look at Immunocal Platinum, we look at the booster, we look at, all the other stuff that we have here. It's the core that allows us to start to develop create our own blue zones for us and our families. And once again, we're going to expand that to invite more people to find out about what we're doing, and then we're doing it in an idea of what are you doing to create your own blue zone. Well, what's a blue zone? That's an area where people live 15 to 20 years longer than everybody else. Okay, that's a blue zone. And so, and like I say, these are it's all characteristics. And fortunately for all of us here at Immunotech, we have an advantage, if you will, to everybody else trying to do this, because because of what we have here with Immunocal and Immunocal Platinum. Any thoughts on that, Dr. White? Then I'll go to Doug and your thoughts.
Doug, are you thinking faster than I am?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking what came to my mind was Okinawa and Dr. Tom Iwama, who came from one of those blue zones. And right. Outside of the nutrition part, he had mentioned forgiveness as being a very important part to health. There was an expression, if you carry a stone in your heart and you just keep adding things without forgiving and letting go, that it's important to let a lot of these resentments and past traumas and things go. and to live for the moment.
Yep, that's one of the parts of the Blue Zone.
Yeah,
that's one of the parts, and we'll be going into that. Dr. White, and then we'll open up the call.
Well, one of the things you can do, I was thinking of a blue Christmas card, the kind that says, "I invite you to join my Blue Zone for increased health and vitality during this particular season."
Yep. Great
How's
idea.
that?
There you go. We've gone a little bit long on this part of the call. We appreciate you all sticking with us here. We're going to open up the lines. Before we do that, the products from Immunotech Research do not cure anything, but as Hippocrates said some 2,500 years ago, make sure you take your Immunical. Let me open. Or he would have said that if he knew about it. All right. Who has thoughts, comments, questions tonight?
Pete, is Dr. White's blue Christmas card, any follow-up with that? Do they follow up or just leave it like that and let the person contact them?
Yeah, I mean, the idea here is, look, what does somebody know about a Blue Zone? What are you talking about? And then let them start on that journey. Yeah, let them start doing the journey on the Blue Zone. Okay, and as they start to find that, they're going to, once again, the hardest part of the Blue Zone, quite honestly, would be doing the nutrition part if you didn't have Immunotech and if you didn't have Immunical Platinum and the Sport, and you didn't have a couple of our other products. That would be the hardest part. Okay, that's what would be making it difficult to do. Everything else that's in there is relatively, everyone does some of it. They may need to do more of it, but they're already doing everything else. Okay, but the nutrition part is the hard part. Would be as you delve into these Blue Zones, the nutrition part would be the hard part to do if you don't have Immunical and Immunotech. That would be the most challenging part, to be able to create your own Blue Zone. But because we have that, we have a very easy way, okay, simple way, maybe not easy. We have a simple way for people to create their own Blue Zones. And I just encourage everybody, just go to your search engines, type in Blue Zone, and you'll find an abundance of information. Okay, to start you down that journey. Okay. All right. Anyone else with thoughts, comments, questions tonight?
Yeah, Harvey here.
Yes.
Oh, somewhat of a sad thought after what you and Dr. White were just talking about alternatives that some people also are pushing. About a year and a half ago, I introduced Immunical to a friend. He was a victim of Agent Orange from Vietnam days with our government screw-up, and he had then had COVID 2 years ago, and he ended up on oxygen. And I tried to talk him into going with Immunical and trying it, see what happened. And happens to be his daughter's got him on some stuff that's from Nexus, I think. I think probably a lot of you are familiar with that company. They probably have good products, but maybe it's not anything what he needed by any means, and it obviously didn't help him any. And he just passed away last week, and I just can't help but think, what if he'd listened to me?
Well, and that's the point that we have, and that's why we want to make it easier to have that conversation, because once again, as maybe some of you do know, some of you may not know, my mother would not take Immunical. Okay, I would mix it up, hand it to her, and she wouldn't consume it, and she had cancer. So, not everybody is going to receive the message. Okay, so what we have to do is understand but what I think is important is to know that we did all that we could do. Okay, that's what I share with people sometimes, and they go, "Well, I don't want to hear it." I said, "It doesn't matter if you want to hear it. I'm obligated to tell you. Once you know about it, then it's up to you what you do with it. Okay, but you're going to hear about it, or you're going to disconnect your phone number, go into the witness protection program, and completely disappear, or you're at least going to know that this product exists, whichever one you think is easiest to do. Okay, because I don't want to come back, because Harvey, the good news is you told them, right? And then that's all you could do.
Yeah, and he kept thinking, though, I should have gone back even after he went into hospice. And I saw one daughter and said, well, he's in hospice now. When I asked him about 3 months ago, how's he doing? And
yeah, but you did what you could. What we talk about. Look, Immunical works every time given time. Sometimes time is not our friend, and sometimes people just make the decisions that they make. I mean, I'm talking with Dr. Bunos. I'm talking with Dr. Gutman. When my mother was ill with cancer, and literally we're mixing it up. I'm handing it to her, and she wouldn't take it. Okay,
yeah.
so there's not much you can do about that. So the point is, you did all you could do. Okay.
Yep.
That's what all of our goal is here. That's what this community, this family that we're talking about tonight, that's what that's about. Look, we share with everyone. Look, my job is not to talk you into it. My job is simply to make sure you know about it. Okay? You do whatever you think is best for you and your family. But make sure you know, it's just as important to know what you say no to as it is to know what you say yes to. So make sure you know what you're saying no to if you choose not to do this. Okay?
Yep.
And that's all you can do. Okay, Harvey. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Anyone else? Thoughts, comments, questions? Okay.
Hey, Keith, it's Ben.
Hey, there he is, the mayor.
Hey, how you guys doing? Bronchitis. Could you guys talk a little bit about bronchitis and the benefits of Immunical, please?
Take Immunical, don't have bronchitis? How's that? I don't know. Dr. White, you want to expand on that?
That was pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
Anything to do with the lungs, Immunical helps, regardless, for a whole variety of reasons, much to do with the glutathione question.
Okay, so if somebody's got bronchitis now, obviously they're dealing with it. So we're going to be taking 4 to 6 packages a day for 4 or 5 days to help them get up to speed, and then they can cut it back to whatever they need to do over that. That's one of the things that we've noticed, Manuel, because of this CCP virus, okay, is that when somebody's dealing with somebody and I would think bronchitis would be in the same category as the flu, Dr. White, and the CCP virus as far as trying to get on top of it.
Yeah, you get that word itis on the back end. That's your inflammation thing. And what is glutathione? A major inflammation fighter.
Okay. So what you'd want to do is get them on 6 packages a day for 3 to 5 days, and then they could cut it back once they start to get the benefit of it. Okay. So, but that's what you'd be looking at there, Emmanuel, with that.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay. And then the better idea is take it every day, and then that way you got all these other benefits, and then maybe that itis won't be back to get you, you know. So,
Absolutely.
all right. All right. Anyone else? Thoughts, comments, questions? Okay. Well, you know, we are. Can you imagine this next Wednesday will be right before Christmas Eve, Dr. White?
We're that close to the end of the year.
Yeah, we're getting down here. We've got 14, 15, we got 17 days left till the end of 2022 and going into 2023. It's kind of interesting, even here on my little calendar on my computer, there's a blue circle around the dates. So getting into the blue zones as we go into 2023. So anyway, final thoughts, Doug?
Well, just a quick reminder for Canadian folk with respect to the event that we have on the 17th.
Yeah.
This month. Yeah.
Yeah. If they can make Montreal on Saturday.
Then, yeah, I'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's about it. Just you know, encourage people to keep an eye on the calendars and the events and the things going on, and special Zoom calls, webinars, and of course all of the Zoom calls that you host 3 times a week. And our, our Zoom-taculars once a month, they're awesome.
Well, thank you, Doug. Thank you for that. Dr. White, final thoughts this evening?
Yeah, January 7th is going to be, I'm going to invite you to my Blue Zone where the best for everything is found.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, thank you, everybody, for being with us here on this Wednesday night. It's our Product Experience and Training Call. This is Keith and Sandra Hooper here in Central California, expressing our appreciation to each and every one of you for being here with us and being part of our family. We appreciate you all. Have a great evening, everyone, and good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, Keith. Bye, Doctor.